The drama surrounding the Raiders in the middle of the 2025 season feels less like a football storyline and more like the unraveling of an institution that has forgotten what stability even looks like. The games may still be on the schedule, but anyone paying attention knows this season has slipped far beyond wins and losses. The conversations around this team have shifted into something heavier, something deeper, because the product on the field isn't the central issue anymore. The real concern is whether this franchise, after decades of false starts and internal chaos, can ever build something that lasts longer than a season or two. And when the noise is louder than the play, when every headline is about dysfunction instead of development, that tells you exactly where things stand. Raiders fans feel every crack in the foundation because it has been nearly 25 years since the "just win baby" promise felt even remotely true. It's understandable why frustration has morphed into a fire everybody mentality, because nothing else has seemed to work. But buried under all the anger is a harder truth. The constant cycling of coaches, coordinators, and staff hasn't just failed to fix the franchise, it has actively deepened the wounds. This isn't a coaching issue alone. It's an organizational one, a decades-long pattern of hitting reset so often that no roots ever have time to take hold. Even now, with a respected veteran like Pete Carroll, the chorus calling for another clean slate only shows how trapped this team is in a loop it refuses to acknowledge. The irony is that the Raiders have had good football minds in the building. Talented coaches, respected executives, people with legitimate resumes and rare skill sets. But none of them lasted long enough to build anything. Josh McDaniels is a perfect example. He failed here, no question, but he wasn't some incompetent hack only carried by Tom Brady. He made Mac Jones a rookie All-Pro. He's already lining up to be one of the top offensive coordinators in the league again and will almost certainly get a third chance as a head coach. Carmen Bracillo, the offensive line coach fans wanted gone, is doing terrific work with the Giants despite their record. Many who left Vegas excelled elsewhere. The common denominator in all their failures wasn't the coaches. It was the Raiders themselves. And the instability doesn't stop there. One of the biggest issues plaguing the franchise is the refusal to let coaches pick their own staff. Pete Carroll may have wanted certain assistants, but that doesn't mean he got them. He isn't fully in charge in Vegas the same way he was in Seattle, and that changes everything. During the 2 years when Carroll did get full control, USC and the Seahawks, he built a college dynasty and won a Super Bowl. When you hire a leader of his caliber, you don't constrain him. You hand him the keys. So the question becomes, if you weren't going to let him truly run the team, why bring him in at all? The league has taken notice. When an insider responds to a message asking how attractive the Raiders' job is and openly laughs, that is a damning indictment. If Carroll were pushed out, who would they replace him with? A desperate first-time coach? A coordinator praying for his first shot? Someone willing to roll the dice even though history suggests they won't get a second season? This team hasn't given most of its coaches more than 2 years. Many haven't even finished their second. That's the pattern a real rebuild cannot survive. The coaching timeline since the 2002 Super Bowl appearance reads like a warning label. Bill Callahan got 2 years. Norv Turner got 2. Art Shell lasted 1. Lane Kiffin barely got more than 1. Tom Cable lasted 2. Hugh Jackson got 1. Dennis Allen got 2. Jack Del Rio and John Gruden were the only ones given long enough to form something meaningful. Everyone else was shoved out before a second full cycle. The organization never learned that continuity is the backbone of sustained success. You cannot build foundation on quicksand. And that's why the argument isn't about whether Pete Carroll is perfect. It's about whether the Raiders finally have the courage to break the pattern. Unless Carroll himself wants out, unless he decides the environment is too fractured to fix, the Raiders need to stop running from discomfort and start giving a coach the time required to reshape a culture that has been broken for far too long. There's also the conversation surrounding Mark Davis, one fans love to ignite. But the problem is rarely as simple as blaming the owner for every failure. Many teams would kill for an owner willing to spend relentlessly, invest in elite facilities, poach top executives, and write checks to coaches even after firing them. Ownership is not the core flaw here. The flaw is the revolving door of uninspiring hires paired with the inability to create stability. The Raiders haven't had a true identity-setting head coach since the first Gruden era. No one since has brought a unified vision that lasted longer than a fleeting moment. That brings us to the player at the center of the latest controversy, Geno Smith. His moment of frustration, flipping off the home crowd, ignited a firestorm. It was dumb, no question, and completely unacceptable. But reducing him to that moment is unfair. He's not a dumb person. He's a frustrated veteran trying to survive in an environment that has given him chaos instead of support. His kids see the hate. His family feels the heat. And every week, he's the public face taking blame for a system that hasn't functioned. Stick any quarterback into an offense designed by conflicting philosophies, executed through disjointed communication, and anchored by an injured and overwhelmed line, and the results would be the same. The mistakes he made were real, but they weren't born from ignorance. They were born from exhaustion. Geno has played the worst football of his career since his early Jets days, which should be a red flag by itself. Quarterbacks don't regress a decade without a reason. Whether it's injury, miscommunication, or a fractured coaching philosophy, something deeper is clearly wrong. Bringing in a quarterback like Geno to run an offense he's never run before, with a staff that wasn't aligned on vision, was a setup for disaster. And Geno is the one taking the hits, literally and figuratively. In the end, the Raiders' problems no longer revolve around this season. This year is gone. The damage is done. What matters now is whether they finally break the cycle that has haunted them for over 20 years. They have tried the flashy hires, the safe hires, the desperate hires, and the recycled hires. None of it stuck. The next step is courage. The courage to commit to a vision long enough for it to grow. The courage to stop hitting reset the moment discomfort appears. And the courage to finally allow stability to exist. If you're still rocking with Raider Nation through all the chaos, I want to hear from you. Should the franchise keep Pete Carroll and let him rebuild the right way? Is the root problem coaching, ownership, or something deeper? And most importantly, when does this cycle finally end? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dive coverage, and stick around as we continue to unpack the emotional roller coaster that is life with the Raiders.